What's up, everybody? I'm Ethan, and this is my story of why I ate Domino's for 8 months straight. No groceries. I was 24, and it was my first apartment that I had by myself. So I was alone for the first time, which really was pretty sad because the reason I was there alone was because my big ideas of board games and paintings and just finding myself really wasn't working out. And so at this point, I had never really worked a job, just odd jobs here and there. Only ever stayed. The longest one was probably 2 months at a landscaping business. And so at this point, I was thinking, I'm just going to give up on all this stuff. And I was planning on just becoming a regular Joe. What else is there to be? When all your dreams have failed, the only thing to do is become regular. So the plan was get a job. I got it at Domino's, get a second job, get a car, and go back to school, because I guess that's the thing that you're supposed to do. And so a long time passed, a full 2 weeks before all of that stopped. And I'm flourishing with ideas. I'm coming up with them here, there. I can't stop myself. And it didn't help that I didn't have any TV or internet. So the average Joe watches some TV. I didn't have that, so I wasn't even doing a very good job of being an average Joe. At some point I said, okay, I'll just exercise a lot, and that'll stop me from having the ideas. But you can only exercise for so long, let's say an hour, maybe 2, and then you still have the rest of the day. So at some point, I went out to a Dollar General, picked up some crayons, pencils, and a notebook, and I would come home every day after work from Domino's. It was 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be drawing. I wouldn't turn on the lights in the apartment. There were street lights that would shine in through the window, and I would use that as the light to draw. So the traditional plan there went out of the window real fast, and I decided at that point, I'm going to do what I planned on doing the whole time. Everything is going to be dedicated to the toys. And so that's what I was going to do. I was only going to spend my money on the toys. So what did that mean? That meant no internet, no TV. I didn't have a bed, and I didn't buy a bed. Not turning the lights on. Not cooking, no furniture, no anything, no groceries. Because at Domino's, like I imagine most food places, you can, some food gets messed up, somebody can take it home. Maybe a customer doesn't come and pick up the food, so what do? You take it home. So I regularly had pizzas to take home, so I could live off the pizzas. And that's what I did. I scrimped and lived off of those pizzas. So what was I doing with all of this money that I had? Well, every week or every few days, I would write as many ideas as I could down a notebook. And at the end of the week, or whenever I felt like I had enough ideas, I would pick one, sketch it out a little deeper on just some lined piece of paper like you'd find in a notebook. It really was not professional in any capacity at all. And I would send that to the broker with a little sketch and some details about it. And this broker that I was sending it to, prior to this apartment, I made this board game called The Amazing Moving Maze, which was really my first step into trying to make directions and an actual board that you could play. And I had play tested it with some people to try to get the mechanics right. Not necessarily that I knew what was going on, but that was my first real shot, and I sent it to the brokers, and they didn't take it. Now, were they ever really going to take anything? Probably not. I had to pay a fee each time I sent an idea in to the brokers. It was $150 for each review, which was really a nice review. They would tell you what they thought was right or wrong, and they would give you a timeline of other games and toys that had similar features to it throughout history. It was really a nice review that they would give. But at this point, I assume what they really wanted was some serious social proof and a real serious prototype. I sent in, over the course of 3 months, $1,500 worth of ideas. That's $1,500 total. I was sending these things in so regularly, and I sent in so much that at one point the broker actually called me to tell me along the lines of, maybe it's not a good idea that you keep doing this because you're sending us a lot of money, and some people just don't ever have a good idea. Some people never make it. And, maybe you'll be that person, but it's a 1 in a million shot. So we're not going to tell you to stop sending us $150, but maybe you should stop, which obviously was not going to stop me at all. I don't remember, but I'm sure that it fueled me more. Finally, after I was getting a sense of what they liked, I made some ideas too that they said, oh, we like these. We would work with these if you could send us a prototype. So at this point, I thought, dang, no more pizzas. I'm out. I won. Wrong. It was that prototype bit that I did not really know how to do. I don't know how to work with electronics. I don't know now, and I really did not know then. Or how to make plastic parts. I didn't know anything about, 3D printer. I had seen that online, but I didn't know anything about it. So at that point, I didn't know what to do. But I was going to keep scrimping and saving. I thought maybe I can scrimp and save enough where I can find somebody else to help me, and I can pay them. Really, my goal was at this point to get out of this apartment because it was terrible. The ceiling above where I slept would leak. I remember waking up, rubbing my face and saying, "What is that?" as water was dripping onto the floor next to me and bouncing up and hitting me in the face. The door on the bathroom had fallen off. So I said, I'm getting out of here. I'm going back to school. Whether I want to do that or not, at least it gets me out of here, and I kept saving until that time. I kept eating the pizza. One time, the oldest pizza I ever ate was 2 weeks old. I had pizzas stacked on top of my refrigerator that I would save. And one point, 2 weeks went by without a single messed up pizza for me to take home. So I ate the 2-week-old pizza, which was so dry that the middle of it, where the corners were that you first bite into usually, curling up. There's no mold on it, so I ate it. So my time at this apartment was coming to an end, and I had saved about $5,000, which was really nice. But what wasn't very nice was the fact that all of that money, very shortly, was going to be completely gone. So where are we at now? We're still pursuing the ideas, and now we're taking that rejection all those years ago and turning it into something new and reimagined, because Amazing Moving Maze has now turned into Moving Maze, as you can see with all of this stuff and the game. So that's really exciting that we never let no stop us. And even after all these years, we've been persistent. Maybe we haven't succeeded at all, but we've succeeded in never giving up. I know that's unbelievably important. Something all those years ago I would always tell myself is, even if it doesn't happen and we end up failing, at least we get to keep our character intact to some degree. Okay, everybody, that's it. Until next time, like, subscribe. Thanks for watching.